All right, settle in, everyone. Welcome back to Sip and Talk.
Great to be back.
You know, I've been thinking a lot about, well, just how tangled global politics can get. Some of the stories out there, honestly, they're like my headphones after a week in my bag.
Huh? Yeah, tell me about it. Total mess sometimes.
But hey, that's why we're here, right? To try and untangle some of that mess.
Exactly. Ready to dive in and peel back some layers, illuminating to see what's really going on underneath the surface noise.
For sure. So today we're doing a real sip and talk exploration into something that keeps popping up in the news. And honestly, it probably sparks a ton of questions for you listening.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to really try and unpack why Beijing denies the Republic of China's legitimacy.
Okay. Yeah.
Now, on the surface, it might look like, you know, just a political spat. But trust me, the roots of this thing, they run deep. History, psychology, strategic maneuvering, it's all in there.
It definitely sounds heavy, and yeah, in some ways it is. But we're going to break it down. You know, bite-sized pieces. We'll look at it from different angles, the history, the politics, even the psychological side, which is fascinating.
Right.
All just to help you get the facts, you know,
Yeah.
without getting totally bogged down in all the shouting. Our goal, like always, is to give you those aha moments.
Yeah.
Leave you feeling like, okay, I actually get this now. And maybe, you know, entertain you a little bit along the way. That's kind of how we roll here.
Exactly. And look, super important point right up front. We are not taking sides here.
No way.
Our job is just to lay out the complexities, show you the different arguments, the realities on the ground, so you, our listener, can think it through for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
That's what critical thinking is all about, and that's what we're trying to do. So, okay, let's start at the beginning. What are the basic claims? What's the foundation for Beijing's whole denial thing?
Right. So when we talk about Beijing's stance on the Republic of China, the ROC, we're really talking about their quest for sole legitimacy.
Sole legitimacy. Okay.
Yeah, this isn't just like a preference.
Mm-hmm.
It's fundamental. It's baked into their politics, their history, how they see themselves.
Let's really get into that then. The People's Republic of China, the PRC, their main claim, the one they never waver on, is that they are the sole legitimate government of all China. Period.
Uh-huh. That's the line.
And it's not just something they say at the UN. It's like the cornerstone of their existence, their right to rule, their whole national story. It's like the absolute core text.
Precisely. And you can't really grasp how big a deal this is without going back to the Chinese Civil War.
Right, 1927 to 49, that whole period.
Yeah, a really long, brutal conflict. Not just some small fight. This was, you know, total war between the communists, the CCP under Mao,
Mm-hmm.
and the nationalists, the KMT under Chiang Kai-shek.
Yeah.
The CCP winning on the mainland in 1949. That led to the PRC being established.
And the KMT government, which was the Republic of China, the ROC, they retreated to Taiwan.
Exactly. They basically set up shop there, running things separately.
And it's so crucial to get this for the CCP. That 49 victory isn't just old news.
No, not at all.
It's the absolute non-negotiable proof, in their eyes, that they are the only legitimate government.
It's the historical judgment.
Yeah, so challenging that, even just hinting the ROC still exists legitimately, is like challenging their whole revolution, their right to be in charge. It's an existential thing for their story.
That's a really critical point. And the world stage, well, it eventually caught up, though it wasn't instant. The really big moment was 1971, UN Resolution 2758.
Ah, the UN shift, okay.
Yeah, basically this resolution kicked the ROC out of the UN seat for China and gave it to the PRC.
Wow. Because before 71, the ROC in Taiwan held that seat, right? Even the Security Council one.
That's right. They held the Permanent Security Council seat. So Resolution 2758 completely changed the diplomatic landscape.
What did that mean practically, like day-to-day for Beijing and for Taipei?
Well, for Beijing, it was massive, a huge diplomatic win. Suddenly, they had this global recognition reinforcing their sole legitimate government story worldwide. For Taipei, devastating. Countries started switching recognition, cutting ties with the ROC to open relations with the PRC.
Did the resolution actually say Taiwan was part of the PRC?
No, interestingly, it didn't explicitly state that. But by saying the PRC was the only legitimate representative of China, it created this really strong incentive for countries to ditch Taipei if they wanted to deal with Beijing.
Okay, so from Beijing's point of view then, Any kind of nod towards the ROC still being around, even just a small diplomatic thing, directly threatens their one China principle.
Absolutely. Threatens the core.
What exactly is that principle, and why are they so incredibly touchy about anything that even looks like it deviates?
So the one China principle is Beijing's absolute bottom line, it says. There's only one sovereign state called China. The PRC is the sole legal government of that China, and Taiwan is part of China. Full stop.
Okay, but that's different from the one China policy that countries like the U.S. have, right?
Yeah. Yes, very important distinction. The U.S., for example, acknowledges Beijing's claim over Taiwan, but doesn't explicitly endorse it. The U.S. maintains robust, unofficial ties with Taiwan through the Taiwan Relations Act. Okay. But Beijing often tries to blur that line, pushing everyone to accept their principle. So any hint of two Chinas or one China, one Taiwan, that's seen as a direct attack on their foundation.
And why is that specific idea, two Chinas or one China, one Taiwan, so radioactive for them? What's the deep fear?
Because it just shatters their core principle. It undermines the whole narrative of an indivisible China under their rule.
Right.
For the CCP, this isn't just about land. It's about validating their history, their legitimacy to their own people, achieving their long-term political goals. If the world starts treating the ROC in Taiwan as separate and legitimate, it blows a huge hole in their story.
Okay, so if that one China principle story starts to fray, what's the bigger impact for the CCP? Not just diplomatic stuff, but like at home.
Oh, it would be hugely destabilizing. Their whole unification discourse, this constant message that unification with Taiwan is inevitable, it's destiny, it's national rejuvenation.
Yeah, you hear that all the time.
That's central to their national identity, their political goals. They've told their people for decades, Taiwan will come back. If the ROC is seen as legit and separate, that whole narrative collapses. It eats away at their credibility, maybe even their mandate to rule. It's not just policy, it's core ideology. It keeps things stable internally.
It's like, imagine a giant sports team that's always claimed they're the only champion ever from their city.
Okay.
And then this smaller team that they beat ages ago but never quite disappeared, keeps playing games, has fans, has its own little trophy, and insists it's also a legitimate champion from that same city.
Yeah, I see that.
It totally messes with the big team's story of being the one and only, right? Even if one is way bigger.
That's a pretty good analogy, actually. It gets at the psychological challenge.
Yeah.
And that brings us right into this other really fascinating, maybe kind of disturbing part of the denial. The whole psychological and ideological side, especially when you look at the little pinks.
Ah, the little pinks. Yeah, you hear that term a lot, especially online. What's this about a spiritual allergy they supposedly have to anything ROC related?
Right, little pinks.
Yeah.
That's the term for these usually young, very active online Chinese nationalists, often female, but not always. And this spiritual allergy, it's not natural. It's not spontaneous.
No.
No, it's the direct result of decades of really systematic ideological conditioning, indoctrination, you could say. State-sponsored brainwashing, some might even call it. It's built into the education system.
So this isn't just like an opinion they picked up online. It's something drilled into them.
Exactly. From tiny kids in elementary school all the way through university, the history books, they consistently leave out, downplay, or just flat out deny that the ROC still exists and functions in Taiwan. Students just never learn that Taiwan isn't just an island, but it's governed by this functioning ROC democratic government. It creates this huge information vacuum, this really skewed view of history and current events.
So then if they suddenly see something that contradicts that, like the ROC flag, or maybe the Chinese characters for Republic of China, it's not like, huh, what's that? It's an immediate trigger.
That's exactly it. Seeing those symbols instantly triggers this subconscious reaction drilled in by their education. It's automatically coded as treason, separatism, anti-China.
Wow.
So you get this immediate, almost visceral flood of hostility. It's like a reflex. Not thought out, not rational, just pure, immediate hostile feeling towards something they've been taught is fundamentally wrong and dangerous.
That's a powerful conditioned response. And it must tie into their national identity too, right? You mentioned a fragility underneath it all.
Absolutely. The little pinks, despite seeming so aggressive online, their psychology can be surprisingly fragile. They're swimming in this constant state narrative. China is strong, China is rising, unification is destiny. That narrative becomes part of their pride, their self-worth.
So when Taiwan not only exists but calls itself the Republic of China, it's not just a name thing. It directly hits that belief in China's uniqueness, its sole sovereignty. It undermines the whole story they live inside.
Precisely. It's an existential threat to their worldview. It triggers intense emotion because it contradicts the single unified China vision they've absorbed their whole lives. It feels like a personal affront.
Can we get a bit more specific about who these little pinks are, beyond young nationalists?
Yeah, they are mostly young, often female, very online. And what's really interesting, many use VPNs, virtual private networks, to get around China's great firewall.
Right, to access sites like Twitter or Instagram that are blocked there.
Exactly. But then they use these tools of global connection, which are censored at home, to push this fiercely state-aligned nationalist agenda. Their motivations varied. Often strong opposition to Western universal values, lots of praise for state-owned companies, and sometimes you see this resurgence of Marxist ideas too.
That is quite a paradox. Using open tools for a closed ideology, does it ever come from a more personal place, like needing an identity or feeling powerless?
Research suggests it's complicated. Sometimes, yeah, it seems linked to feelings of maybe personal frustration or lack of direction. Defending the nation online gives them a sense of purpose, identity, even moral rightness. It's a way to feel powerful. And the irony is, their behavior, their consumer habits are often shaped by the very globalized market economy they sometimes rail against. They're products of the modern world, even while fighting parts of it.
That's a really key insight into the psychology. Can you give us some real-world examples? Like, how does this spiritual allergy and nationalism actually play out? What impact does it have?
Sure. Think back to 2016, when Tsai Ing-wen won the presidential election in Taiwan.
I remember that.
Her Facebook page was just flooded, completely inundated with hostile comments, angry images from little pinks, furious about her perceived pro-independence stance. It was a huge, coordinated digital attack.
Wow.
Or another big one, also in 2016, the Taiwanese actor Leon Dai. He was cast in a Chinese movie, but then faced this massive backlash from little pinks who thought he supported Taiwan independence. The pressure got so intense, he was actually cut from the film.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Just cut from the movie?
Yep. So this isn't just online chatter. It has real, tangible effects on people's careers, on culture, everything.
Those are powerful examples, which brings us to that really visible stuff. The flag-tearing, defacing ROC symbols. Why so aggressive, so visceral?
It goes right back to that deep-seated hostility, the indoctrination, the constant message from school, from media, everywhere. ROC, illegal regime, Taiwan, part of China, Taiwan independence, crime. So seeing the ROC flag, to them, it's like seeing an enemy symbol, a symbol of betrayal, of trying to split the motherland. It triggers this enemy reflection, an automatic hostile reaction.
I mean, there's a social pressure aspect too, right? It's not just personal belief, it's performing patriotism for the group, like a loyalty test.
Oh, absolutely. Within those little pink circles, tearing a flag, defacing a symbol, that's seen as a righteous act. It's a public performance of patriotism. If you don't join in, or even seem hesitant, you risk being called unpatriotic, or worse, accused of supporting Taiwan independence. It turns into this kind of loyalty competition. You prove your patriotism through aggression.
So performing belief for social points, and you mentioned something fascinating earlier, information enclosure and magical thinking.
Yeah.
What's that about?
It's about the impact of living inside that censored information bubble. Many little pinks genuinely can't grasp, or maybe just don't know, that the Republic of China is still a functioning democratic government in Taiwan.
They've just never been exposed to that reality.
Exactly. It's been so thoroughly scrubbed from their information diet that it's almost unthinkable. So because of this information enclosure, they engage in what you could call political magical thinking.
Magical thinking? Like what?
Like believing that by destroying the symbols of the ROC, tearing the flag, deleting online mentions, they can somehow make the reality of its existence disappear too.
Wow.
It's like if they don't see it or if they erase its symbols, it literally stops existing in their minds. Or maybe they think they're actively making it cease to exist in the world.
That's profoundly unsettling. Like a geopolitical version of a kid closing their eyes to make the monster go away. Except the stakes here are infinitely higher.
It's a similar psychological mechanism, yeah, but with far graver implications. And this leads us right to the reality on the ground. how Beijing's actual strategies, diplomacy, and control systems all weave together with this denial.
Okay, so what is Beijing's actual practical strategy towards Taiwan? Is it just flat-out denial, or is it more subtle than that?
Oh, it's definitely more subtle. Highly calculated, actually. The CCP uses this deliberate policy of vague handling and denial of subjectivity when it comes to Taiwan. They're incredibly careful with their words.
So they don't recognize the ROC government in Taiwan, obviously, but they also avoid saying outright that Taiwan is an internationally recognized Chinese province. It sounds like walking a very fine line, purposefully ambiguous.
Exactly. It's all about maintaining that ambiguity while still hammering home their claim. They'll consistently use terms like Taiwan region or Taiwan authorities.
Never ROC government or Taiwanese government.
Right. It's a strategic choice. It avoids giving any kind of legal or formal recognition. This gives them flexibility, avoids setting precedents they might not like later, but still asserts their overall claim. It's like linguistic chess.
And what's the deep fear behind this super cautious approach? Why be so meticulous about not acknowledging the ROC's existence, even slightly?
Well, Beijing has this profound fear, this deep-seated worry, that acknowledging the ROC, or even just Taiwan's self-governance, could set off a kind of spark-spreading effect, a domino effect, essentially.
You mean like if Taiwan gets more recognition, other regions inside the PRC might get ideas?
That's exactly it.
Yeah.
They worry that if Taiwan's claims gain traction internationally, it could embolden other marginalized regions with their own distinct identities, places like Hong Kong, Tibet, which they often call Tubo internally, Xinjiang, Inner Mongolia. These places might start pushing harder for their own autonomy or even independence. So crushing any recognition of the ROC or Taiwan sovereignty is seen as absolutely vital to stop any non-central subject consciousness, as they might put it, from spreading within their borders. It's about keeping tight internal control.
That really clarifies the internal stakes for them. So how do they actually enforce this? How do they control the information and apply pressure both at home and globally?
Domestically, it's through total information control. Strict media censorship, carefully curated education, anything that contradicts the One China principle or acknowledges the ROC is just wiped out.
Can't use the flag or the name inside China?
Nope. Forbidden. They present this single, unified story. Only one China, the PRC. Any challenge, erased.
And internationally, do they use their economic and diplomatic muscle?
Absolutely. Aggressively. They use the One China principle as leverage everywhere, pressuring countries, international bodies, even private companies to toe their line.
Right, like demanding countries cut ties with Taiwan or making airlines change how they list Taiwan on their websites.
Exactly that. And interestingly, they often use state media, like People's Daily or Global Times, to indirectly praise the little pinks.
Really? Why?
That validates their nationalist behavior, makes them feel like they're part of the state's mission, which of course encourages them to keep doing it, amplifying Beijing's message online and sometimes offline too.
Wow, so it's a really comprehensive strategy, using everything they've got.
It really is.
Yeah.
And you can kind of summarize Beijing's whole motivation for denying ROC legitimacy with this little formula. Cannot plus unwilling plus don't want.
Okay, cannot plus unwilling plus don't want. Let's break that down. What's the cannot?
Cannot is about political legitimacy.
Yeah.
Beijing literally cannot acknowledge the ROC because that would mean admitting they aren't the sole legitimate government of China. It would directly challenge their 1949 victory story, which is the absolute foundation of their power. Their whole system rests on that claim.
Gotcha. They can't undermine their own origin story. So what about unwilling? What's the ideological block?
Unwilling is about ideology. Beijing is unwilling because if a two Chinas idea took hold or Taiwan gained formal recognition, their whole unification narrative, their core ideology of one indivisible China would just collapse. That narrative's vital for foreign policy, yes, but maybe even more for domestic stability. They just won't give it up.
Makes sense. And then don't want, you said that has two parts.
Yeah. First, there's national psychology and control. Beijing doesn't want to acknowledge the ROC because it could trigger this unpredictable patriotic frenzy among people like the little pinks.
Ah, they might lose control of the nationalism they've stoked.
Exactly. It could lead to public demands for more aggressive action, maybe before the leadership is ready. They risk the narrative spinning out of control.
Okay. And the second, don't want. That's about their broader Taiwan strategy.
Precisely. The second, don't want, is about Taiwan strategy and international diplomacy. Beijing doesn't want to acknowledge the ROC because it would totally screw up their long game of denying Taiwan's separate identity and squeezing its international space. They fear any recognition could boost Taiwan's global standing, get it more allies, more influence, the exact opposite of their goal to isolate and eventually control it.
So we're looking at this incredibly deep-rooted, multi-layered denial. History, legitimacy, psychology, domestic control, global strategy. It's all wrapped up together.
Absolutely. It's a really complex picture.
And understanding all that really sets the stage for this next part, which gets pretty controversial, pretty emotional. That defiant question you sometimes hear, why are you afraid?
Yes, this is where the theory hits the road. It's raw emotion. We see this issue with some spouses from mainland China living in Taiwan. They're often called Drena, land spouses.
Right.
And some have publicly pushed for unification by force or annexing Taiwan.
Military unification.
And their challenge is often, why can't I say this? What are you afraid of? Or you say you have free speech, so why can't I talk about the benefits of China invading?
I mean, you can see how on the surface, it sounds like they're just testing free speech limits in a democracy. Like, hey, free country, let me speak. But you're saying it's much more than that, a clash of misplaced values, more insidious.
Exactly. It looks like a free speech test, but it's fundamentally a clash of misplaced values where freedom gets twisted. And maybe more importantly, it acts as this kind of language bullying and psychological warfare straight out the CCP playbook. It's not just talk, it's designed to harm.
So it's not just talking. If someone living in Taiwan says, yeah, I support China invading Taiwan, that's way beyond just an opinion.
Way beyond. When someone says that, especially while living in the place being threatened, it's not just an opinion anymore. It actively creates a rationalization for an enemy to attack local territory.
It gives cover for aggression.
Exactly. It normalizes the idea of attacking your host country.
Let's use that analogy you mentioned earlier, the Stark one, to really hammer this home.
Okay, imagine this. A Russian citizen living in Kiev, Ukraine, right now with missiles flying, saying publicly, Putin, just invade already, it'll be better.
Yeah, no.
Would Ukraine, a nation fighting for survival, just say, oh, that's just his opinion, free speech? Of course not. They'd see it as undermining security, maybe even treason. Taiwan faces constant military threats, too. So speech like that, it carries a very similar weight, a similar danger.
Makes the stakes really clear. Okay, so what about Taiwan's own laws? They have a constitution, they follow international rules like the ICCPR guaranteeing free speech. But is it absolute?
No, absolutely not. No real democracy has totally unlimited free speech. There are always limits, especially when speech poses a clear danger, national security, public order, inciting violence. Taiwan, like other mature democracies, has laws for this. The National Security Act, parts of the criminal code about sedition, they specifically ban spreading stuff that endangers the country or incites military attack. These aren't random rules made out of fear. They're legal lines to protect the nation.
So advocating unification by force isn't just opinion. It's legally seen as incitement, a threat. And this whole clash seems to boil down to fundamental different ideas of what freedom of speech even means.
It really does. The understanding in mainland China versus Taiwan, worlds apart. In China, free speech often means basically yell at foreigners all you want, criticize America, whatever, but about the party, about domestic policy. Shut up.
Right. Controlled, outward-facing anger.
Yeah. Often used for nationalism, but zero tolerance for internal dissent.
So someone coming from that system, used to those rules, might just completely misunderstand free speech in a place like Taiwan. They might see tolerance as weakness.
Exactly. They're used as speech being a state tool. So they see Taiwan allowing debate, even dissent, and think it's weakness or fear. The fact they can say provocative things in Taiwan might reinforce their view. See, you're scared. You're cowards. They don't get that rights come with responsibilities, especially the responsibility not to destroy the system giving you those rights.
Can you describe this as a kind of conqueror's justice mentality? Authorized bullying. That's strong language.
It is, but I think it fits the psychology sometimes. These individuals often grew up saturated in Greater China nationalism, taught that eliminating Taiwan independence is righteous, inevitable. So they arrive in Taiwan with this attitude like, we're destined to take over, so I can say whatever I want about it. What are you going to do?
So it's not about dialogue. It's provocation, pushing buttons, testing boundaries.
Totally. It's a tactic to sow discord, not to persuade. Which brings us to Taiwan's real stance. When it pushes back, it's not fear. It's defending democracy.
Right, that's the key distinction. Taiwan's reaction isn't fear. It's understanding that democracy is not a suicide pact. Freedom isn't a weapon for enemies to destroy freedom itself.
Exactly. And that connects to Karl Popper's paradox of tolerance.
The philosopher.
Yeah. He argued, a tolerant society can't tolerate intolerance that aims to destroy tolerance. If you let people use free speech to incite violence or dismantle democracy, you risk losing everything. Taiwan's actions fit this idea.
So the legal limits in Taiwan on war propaganda or incitement, they aren't cowardice. They're based on law, on national security needs. It's a sign of a mature, confident democracy.
Precisely. It shows self-confidence, a commitment to rule of law. Reports show Taiwan handles this stuff legally, not emotionally. And crucially, these laws apply to everyone. Taiwanese citizens, like that former KMT guy, Tsai Ching-wan, have faced restrictions for similar rhetoric too. It's not just targeting mainland spouses.
That impartiality is key. Okay, so this leads to that big question. When folks ask, what are you afraid of? Who in this whole situation is really acting more out of fear or insecurity? Taiwan with its laws, or the CCP with its extreme controls?
Yeah, the comparison is pretty stark when you look closely. Think about the CCP's extreme suppression. Just recently, June 2024, China's Supreme People's Court put out new guidelines supporting Taiwan independence. A grave crime, potentially punishable by death in especially serious cases.
Death for political speech. That doesn't scream confidence. That screams desperation to control the narrative. Absolute insecurity.
It certainly points that way. A secure government doesn't need threats like that. And look at how they react internationally. Pelosi visits Taiwan in 2022.
Massive military drills, missiles over Taiwan, import bans, huge reaction.
Right. President Tsai meets Speaker McCarthy in the U.S. in 2023. More drills, more sanctions.
Yep.
President Lai gives his inauguration speech in 2024. Big naval exercises, a stern warning to independence forces. It's a pattern.
Over-the-top reactions every time.
These huge aggressive responses show incredibly low tolerance for any challenge. It suggests deep insecurity, not strength. They lash out with force, not arguments.
So if you compare Taiwan's measured legal approach, we have laws to protect ourselves and we apply them fairly, versus the CCP's total suppression, including death threats for speech. It's pretty clear. Taiwan shows democratic confidence. The CCP shows profound fear that their story can't hold up, fear for their power.
That's the conclusion the evidence points to. Taiwan acts like a robust democracy protecting itself legally.
Right.
The CCP acts like an insecure regime terrified of dissent.
Let's flip the script again. That what-if scenario. What if a Taiwanese spouse living in, say, Shanghai posted online, I support Taiwan independence. U.S. military, please protect us from the CCP. What happens next?
Oh, it would be immediate and harsh. Interrogation by public security, for sure. Massive online pile-on, denunciations probably getting reported officially, detention is highly likely, then deportation, identity canceled, bans from ever returning, zero tolerance.
It's such a stark contrast. Taiwan lets people from the mainland live, work, study, enjoy freedoms, and then gets accused of being afraid for restricting speech that literally advocates for its violent destruction. It really is the ultimate democratic tightrope walk.
It truly is. And this kind of behavior inevitably causes backlash within Taiwan, while also, fitting into Beijing's broader strategic games.
What is the general feeling in Taiwan when these unification by force comments happen? It must be pretty negative.
Overwhelmingly negative, yeah. People react strongly to seeing individuals enjoy Taiwan's freedoms while actively calling for its destruction by an authoritarian regime. It feels like a betrayal.
Like a Trojan horse. People see them as working for Beijing.
Exactly. That perception is strong, especially since Beijing refuses to rule out force. It's seen as disrespecting Taiwan's democracy, its values, twisting tolerance into demanding tolerance for speech that aims to destroy tolerance itself.
And is this part of Beijing's gray zone tactics? Using non-military means to destabilize?
Absolutely. These statements and the reactions they cause fit right into that playbook. Gray zone stuff is coercive, but stays below the threshold of open war. It's designed to confuse and pressure.
How does it put Taiwan in a bind, a no-win situation?
Precisely. If Taiwan doesn't stop the speech, it looks weak, like it's letting CCP influence seep in. If Taiwan does stop it, enforcing its laws, Beijing screams undemocratic, suppressing speech, scores propaganda points.
Damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Exactly. It's designed to create internal division, weaken social trust, wear Taiwan down from the inside.
Okay, so let's finally answer that question directly. What are you afraid of? What's Taiwan's real answer?
It's not that we're afraid of you speaking. Not in a free society. is that we're afraid of you using the space of a free society to push for unfree authoritarian rule.
We're afraid of you exploiting our tolerance to legitimize threats of violence against us.
We're afraid you mistake our respect for democratic choice, our liberalism, for weakness. Put it plainly, we're not scared of your words, but we hate you using our free system to praise an authoritarian one that wants to crush us.
Or, maybe more humorously, someone walks into your house, yells, "I'm going to burn this place down," and then asks, "Why are you afraid of me saying that?" It's not fear. It's just, your logic seems a little broken, buddy.
Yeah, that pretty much captures the absurdity, which is often a mask for aggression. And that leads us right into debunking some of these specific claims head on with facts and maybe, a little bit of that humor.
Okay, let's tackle claim number one, the big one from Beijing. The Republic of China doesn't exist anymore.
Right. And we could just hit that with straight facts. The ROC, founded 1912, first republic in Asia, huge deal. And critically, it's been operating continuously in Taiwan since 1949.
With its own constitution, government, military, 23 million people.
Exactly. It's not a ghost. It's a current functioning reality.
Yeah, we're not talking about some symbolic government in exile. It's a real working state. Democratic elections, independent courts, international trade, national symbols, all the stuff countries have.
So if someone tells you the ROC doesn't exist, I'd say look at our passports. What does it say right on the cover? Republic of China. Are the IDs of 23 million people fake? We elect a president, not a party secretary. We have a real parliament, not a rubber stamp. We have a constitution, a government. Heck, we even have old generals singing patriotic songs. Are you sure it doesn't exist? It's like saying the sun isn't real because you're standing in the shade. Exactly. And yet the UN seat changed in 71. That was politics, not proof the ROC vanished. Yeah. It still has strong unofficial ties globally, participates in WTO, APEC, often as Taiwan or Chinese Taipei. It's a major player, especially in tech.
So Beijing's denial, it's not based on facts. It's a political story they need to tell.
Absolutely. It's a strategy to prop up their one China principle, justify their rule based on that 49 win. It's about controlling the narrative, not reflecting reality.
All right, next claim. Taiwan isn't a country. Goes hand in hand with the last one, and it just sounds absurd if you live here or even visit.
It is absurd because Taiwan ticks every single box for being a de facto independent state. Let's list them. Own currency, new Taiwan dollar. Yeah. Check. Not the renminbi.
Right. Own military, distinct from the PLA.
The ROC armed forces for national defense. Own democratically elected president.
Check. Voted in every 4 years. Multi-party system. No lifetime appointments here.
Exactly. Own passport, own tax system, own border control, check, check, check. It all works together. It's one operation, one country.
And, hey, if Taiwan isn't a country, why do you seem so bothered that our passport gets us into way more countries visa-free than yours does? And often faster through customs. Seems like the world recognizes it pretty well.
That's a very practical point about de facto sovereignty. And here's the big logical knot they tie themselves in.
The unification paradox. Yeah. If Taiwan isn't a country, if it's just a province like you say, what exactly are you trying to unify? You don't need to unify something that's already part of you. The very demand for unification admits it's separate right now.
It completely exposes the contradiction. If it were just a province, you'd govern it. You wouldn't threaten to invade it. The threat itself proves the separation.
You keep saying we're not a country, but we're just over here living, paying taxes, voting, trading. You say we don't exist, but you can't stop talking about us, complaining about us on Weibo. Honestly, you seem more obsessed with us than my own mother. That's how real we seem to be.
It really shows how performative the denial is, which brings us back to that final comparison. Who's really acting cowardly here?
Okay, recap Taiwan's side. Confident democracy. Allows different views within legal limits protecting security, showing strength. Restrictions are based on law, not fear. Rational defensive values.
Right. Contrast that with the CCP. Deep insecurity. Extreme suppression of dissent, especially about Taiwan. Zero tolerance for criticism, military threats, economic punishments. All clear signs of fear. Fear their story is weak. Fear losing control.
So the final punchline on who's afraid or cowardly.
We're not afraid of you saying we're not a country. Words don't scare us that much.
We're afraid you might suddenly get it. Afraid you might actually realize we are independent and democratic. Because then you might have to start actually respecting us. And wouldn't that just change everything?
It absolutely would. Something to really think about.
So what does this all boil down to for you listening in? We've gone through the politics, the psychology, the strategies behind Beijing's denial of the ROC's legitimacy. It's definitely complex, way more than it looks.
But hopefully we've helped unpack those layers. helped you see that this isn't just a simple denial. It's rooted in deep history, intense conditioning, and very deliberate geopolitical moves. It's about identity, power, history, governance. Huge stuff.
Exactly. And it really highlights something crucial for any democracy. Free speech isn't unlimited. There's a line where speech becomes incitement, a threat to security, or an attempt to destroy the very system granting the freedom. Finding that balance, that's the constant challenge.
And here's that final thought to chew on. If one side needs to go to such extreme lengths, denying reality, threatening death, just to enforce its story, what does that really say about their confidence in that story? Is it strength? Or is it profound fear that the truth might get out?
Powerful question. Now, as always, we want to be crystal clear. Here at Sip and Talk, we're about giving you objective facts, different perspectives, so you can think for yourself. We're not criticizing any specific nation or people. Our goal is always critical, independent thinking.
Absolutely. And hey, if you found this Sip and Talk useful, maybe hit that subscribe button wherever you get your podcasts. We really appreciate you joining us on these explorations.
And speaking of friends, you should definitely check out our buddy Micky's YouTube channel, Micky to Life. He does great stuff, memes, music, wine tasting, awesome travel vlogs, always finding something cool.
Yeah, Micky's great, and I heard he just put up his latest vlog from the Taiwan International Wine Exhibition. So go check him out, give him some love, watch that video, and we'll catch you next time on Sip and Talk.